Alright guys, so today we are actually going to be doing a vehicle reveal. You probably already got a little glimpse of it, but like, hey, here's my new RV. Probably gonna be cooking meth in it soon, but hey, we're gonna slam it, put some bags on it, wide body it. We're gonna be doing a bunch of things, so stay tuned for the future videos. Obviously that was a joke, but today we are going to be doing another video of 5 things that you need to look for if you're buying like a used car or a used like sports car, or like something in like the class of an M3, an S2K, anything like that. So yeah, so it's just going to be an informative video letting you guys know what to look for, like kind of uncommon things that people don't really tell you about. So let's get into it. So one of the main things that I tend to look for in like buying a used car is actually your belts and pulleys. Those things people really don't tell you about, but those are absolutely vital to running your water pump, power steering pump, and just driving the whole car and your timing chain, everything. So belts and pulleys, I already did mine because my pulleys were actually going out. So I actually did mine on my own, but that's one thing that is very important to look for, and you can tell by either wiggling the actual pulleys. If they have any movement or any play at all, you definitely want to get those replaced, because over time it will actually wear out your belt faster. And then if your belt falls off and your engine's still running, it could potentially cause serious damage. So with all of these things that I'm going to be talking about today, these are things that I've personally experienced. I've gone through the headache, and I've gone through the actual headache of doing the modifications myself or having to pay for them if they're intensive enough. So learn from my mistakes, and please look out for these things when you do, and if you do buy a used car. So the second thing is something that's actually also just as important as your belts and pulleys. It's what holds your engine in the engine bay, and that is going to be your motor mounts. So I unfortunately went through the problem of actually having 2 collapsed motor mounts, which caused my center support bearing to fail, and it put extra strain on the transmission. So I got those, I replaced those myself, and those actually made a huge difference. But if you can get under the car, if you can look under the car, you can look through the engine bay. Sometimes, like on mine, you can see them kind of right in between. There's a little area here and a little bit of area here. They're fairly easy to see, and if you can, definitely do your best to look at those, because those can be pricey and they can actually cause even more damage on the powertrain in general. Even worst case, it can do something to your rear differential. Okay, so another big thing that I've experienced on this car and my my E36 M3 that you guys saw on the channel, if you guys are reoccurring viewers, is gonna be something that deals with suspension, and that is the bushings. So I've done front control arm bushings on both my cars, I've done rear trailing arm bushings, and now unfortunately I have to do subframe bushings on this one. And those are very important things because, and me personally, I went polyurethane instead of OEM, because OEM is still kind of a little mushy, and it doesn't make the car handle the best. Because when you do like your bushings and you do like the rear trailing arm bushings, they kind of when the actual bolt's in there and the trailing arm is moving, sometimes it'll move side to side. But if you get polyurethane, it actually stiffens it, so it only moves up and down, and it doesn't articulate in any way, shape, or form, which is actually really nice. And then people go, like for track cars, they'll go solid mount bushings, which that's way too intense for the track. But yeah, so subframe bushings in general, look for those if they're cracked, if they're rot, because believe it or not, but rubber does rot, just like your tires. Your bushings will rot as well. Okay, so this is another thing, I think this is point number 4, but I personally am experiencing this right now, but there are ways to check it. They're a little more difficult than, let's say, just looking at something or visually checking it. This one, you actually have to lift the car up and kind of manipulate it and move it, but it is wheel bearings. Your wheel bearings will go bad and they will get shot over time. and that means that basically your bearings are wearing down. There's no more lubrication, or the bearing has seized, or just anything like that. And one way to tell that is you're gonna hear like a weird humming noise, or a loud high-pitched squealing, or something that's just really annoying, that's constant. It's a constant sound. And in my case, it's pretty bad in the front left, but when I turn right, it gets even worse, because when you turn right, you're getting more pressure and load on the front left. So that's something that I'm experiencing right now, which in due time, which is actually, I think I have them on order right now, but I have to get new wheel bearings and I have to install them. Otherwise, it's just going to get worse and worse, and I don't know, it could potentially seize up and my wheel could not move at all. So that's another thing to really look out for, and something to know going into buying a used car. All right, so the fifth and final thing that I'm going to be talking about in the things to look for when buying a used car is your steering rack. So for those of you who may not know, your steering rack is the actual cross brace that it's about this big around, and it has like rubber boots on the end, and they're attached to the front, the front portion of the wheel, like right here. So those are something that leaks a lot, and if your steering is really heavy, then you could be leaking power steering fluid. Also check your power steering reservoir if you know where it is, because if it's all dirty and brown, it should ideally be clear or pink. So if you guys look at that, that's another thing to really keep an eye out for. And if you can get under the car and you see like splashing or dirt or oil or anything kind of gunked up under that, it could be either a leaking oil pan, or it could be a leaking power steering fluid, because it gets really gunky and really thick over time. So yeah. So I hope that video helped you guys a lot. If it did, leave a like or a comment. Also comment down below what else you guys want to see. I got a couple other videos in mind, but I also want to get your guys' opinions on what I should do next. So yeah, so leave a like, subscribe, leave a comment, all that stuff. And yeah, so thank you guys for watching this, and I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will catch you guys on the next video.